What's going on, guys? Welcome back to The Commodity. I'm Fez, and today we are going to take a look at 10 lies Europeans believe about American people. Everybody knows about everybody about the news or YouTube or something like that. I mean, beyond that, that's our education of other countries, unless you go there. But at the same time, you don't know much about it, I guess. Like, I went to Spain, but do I truly know about their politics and their opinions on Americans and all that kind of stuff? Because not very many people are jerks straight to your face, so they're not like, oh, American, bleh. You know, I mean, they might be saying in their head, but they're going to be nice, you know, and vice versa. I'm sure some people hear somebody from Europe somewhere or something like that, and they're like, bleh, you know, I don't know. But we all try to be as cordial as possible. I mean, unless you're being a jerk, then I'm happy that you're here. That's all I care about. But guys, I want to say thank you so much for all the love and support from my son that was in the last video. Link will be down in the description. We did a reaction to kids react to old computers and stuff, and it was a blast. We were going to do another one today, but originally he was going to go to Sunday, what is it called? Vacation Bible School or whatever it is that they do for a week in the summer or something like that during the day. And then he changed his mind. So it was going to be like at 12, and then I had to be back by 4. So it wasn't going to work out anyways. But we will do some more. I have them every other weekend, but I get to see them whenever I want. But not next week, but the weekend after that. Yeah. If it seems a little smoky in here, I am cooking a duck breast. So, and I did it's called a reverse sear. So I seared it on both sides, but it's super smoky, at least in the distance. And it could be just my glasses are dirty, which they are. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump into this. Subscribe, hit the bell notification, like the video, all that good stuff. But let's see if these are lies or if they're actually accurate. Let's find out.
The next lie, okay, and this might just be a me thing, but the next lie that I believed about America before I went to America, and I actually think you're going to probably slag me off for this in comments. So today I'm going to be talking about 10 weird lies Europeans are told about America. Things that I learned growing up and that then once I visited America, I kind of had to unlearn. In case you're interested, I also have a list doing this the other way around, so let me know below in comments.
So did she say she moved to America?
About America. Things that where I went to America, and I actually think you're going to probably slag me off for this in comments. So today I'm going to be talking about 10 weird lies Europeans are told about America. Things that I learned growing up and that then once I visited America, I kind of had to unlearn. In case you're interested, I also have a list doing this the other way around, so let me know below in comments if you want to see lies Americans are told about Europe. And today's video is brought to you by the new thing that has been consuming an hour of my evening every day on the couch. It's the mobile game Hero Wars. I know a lot of you guys are big film buffs.
I don't really
like
want to
me,
edit this out, so we're just gonna skip
and when
it.
you're counting down to how many characters have I featured in this ad read sponsoring this channel? Okay, the first lie that I was told was that Hollywood is full of shiny things and celebrities are just everywhere.
Okay, before we get into this is a good point. If you've ever been to LA, it's actually very dirty, very gross. There are the neighborhoods, obviously, that you see on TV, and you know, there's the shopping areas that you see on TV that are really well kept. However, the vast majority of LA is pretty nasty. So, I mean, you go into, you know, there are some rough parts of Hollywood and stuff. And Hollywood in the whole is pretty gross. So, it's not what people think.
I'm going to say it. Hollywood itself is kind of a kip.
Wow. She really went there.
When I was there, I may have seen some celebrities, but they were keeping really low key and had baseball caps on, so they were very hard to spot. And Hollywood, as I said, is not that shiny and wonderful. The Hollywood sign itself is, I'll be honest, it's kind of a letdown.
Yeah.
I guess I pictured Beverly Hills when I thought of Hollywood, but no. The next slide.
Now, if you are in Hollywood, go through Beverly Hills. It will blow your freaking mind. Multi-million-dollar houses everywhere. $100,000, million-dollar cars everywhere. Like the family. Like, it's funny. The most basic car you see now Teslas became real popular, but before that, you'd go into town and you see Range Rovers everywhere. You'd think we'd be London or something, or they would be London, not us. And to be perfectly honest, it seems like that's starting here because you're starting to see Land Rovers, Range Rovers everywhere, which is kind of funny because historically they don't have a good rep about being reliable. So, to each his own.
Europeans are told about America is that it's just full of extremes. And don't get me wrong, it is, but it's not just extremes. Our perception through the media is that Americans are either really fat or really fit. They're either total jocks or nerds. Stereotypes from movies. And like I said, don't get me wrong, those stereotypes exist for a reason. However, the majority of people are not extremes. They're just regular, in-between people with thoughts and feelings that vary and are nuanced. The next slide.
So I guess the best way to describe this is, so the two most populated countries are China and India. I don't know which one's which number one, what's number two. And then it's us. And then we are, in comparison, I'm not trying to down either country. Like, there's nothing wrong with either. Well, leadership. I don't know about India. I don't know a whole lot about India, but I mean, we eat terribly. So we do have way more fat people than those other countries. But we also have way more spending than all those other countries. Well, it's kind of changing with China, but we're also very diverse. Well, where China is very, how do you say, Chinese. So, and there is a general stereotype. Obviously, you got your Yao Mings of the world, but they're all petite people, just like in Mexico, but they're fat. We're all fat in Mexico. Now, there's like some skinny people. My dad's really skinny. We make fun of him because he's finally gaining some weight. But then it's funny, there are the extremes. You have your buff people that, work out all the time and all that stuff. But what's cool is that's became kind of an international thing. Since the 70s. But really, yeah, the average dad bod is probably the majority. But obviously, we have a lot more fat people. Look at me. Now, I am down 12 pounds, 13 pounds, somewhere in that ballpark. So, yeah.
Europeans are told about America is that you just quit your jobs whenever you want to. And that's, again, from TV shows and films. People just go, I quit when they're unhappy or having a bad day.
You're fired.
I quit!
You're fired.
I quit.
You're fired! You're fired!
Well, I already quit, so.
Additionally, we think...
All right. To be perfectly honest, I quit whenever I'm tired of a place. Or if I don't find a place that's comfortable. It is actually true. This is more realistic. Now, unless they're looking for, unless they're fear of change and stuff like that. I know some people in my life that are terrified of change. They hate their jobs, but they stay with it because they don't know if they're going to be able to find something with more money, and they're not willing to go out and look for it. So for me, if you're not a good job, I quit. I have walked out of places. I don't care if it's not for me. And to be fair, that's different when it comes to generations. My parents probably kept their jobs minimum of a decade. My peers and myself, 3 to 5 years. If you're bored, or I'd say millennials, Gen Zs, and I don't know about alphas, obviously, because they're not old enough to get jobs, but we'll just quit. If you want to challenge me, I will quit. Because guess what? I'm a great salesperson. I can go anywhere I want to sell a car, sell RVs, sell boats. I don't care. Give me something to sell and I'll sell it. And, a lot of those professions, jobs are very abundant right now. So people can just up and quit. It's true.
From the same sources that you can just go, you're fired out of the blue, and there's no repercussions for that. In fact, a lot of times contracts are in place and stuff, and it just doesn't work like that in the real world. On The Apprentice.
So that's not factually true. So every state has different laws. In Texas, as long as you keep your mouth shut, you might not like somebody because of their color, their weight, their height, their male, their female, their this, their that. No matter what, it could be the most illegal reason to fire someone. But as long as you keep your mouth shut about why you're firing someone, I can walk up to somebody and be like, look, you're fired. If I was the manager, of course, or the owner. And I don't have to give any reason in the state of Texas. Now, if you're tenured at like a university or, if you're under a contract at like a school, but obviously you can break contracts depending on the situation. But by law, I can walk up. And that happened to me. I was selling cell phones. And I just rubbed the wrong way with somebody up in the higher ups. And randomly, I had HR and one of the GMs come in and they sat me down and they were like, look, we're going to move on from you. And I was like, can you tell me why? And they're like, honestly, we're just ready to move on. And that's the way to do it. They can just fire. I mean, technically the manager could have just been like, now businesses have ways to prevent like possibly backlash or something, but I can't just go back and sue and be like, they fired me for no reason. In the state of Texas, they don't have to have a reason. They can just let you go. So that does happen, especially if you piss somebody off the wrong way. If it's your direct boss and he's got the right to hire and fire, you can be like, pack your crap, get the hell out. That's it.
Apprentice, they do the you're fired, but that's a specific place. The next lie that you are told about America as a European is that everybody in America is obsessed with celebrities, whereas actually the truth couldn't be farther from that. Okay, so in Europe, a lot of our celebrities come from America, so we naturally presume that everybody is completely obsessed with celebrities within America. In actual fact, most people just kind of see their lives and what goes on behind the scenes as a little bit of entertainment, just like we do in Europe. One thing I will say is kind of odd as a European, always when I go to America, is seeing on your mainstream news the focus on celebrities within actual serious news programs. We don't really have that as much in Europe. I know in the UK they focus a lot on royalty.
Make way for the loser!
But you don't tend to see people talking about celebs on news shows as much in Europe. The next
how does that work here? That's a really good question. So I would say the majority of all Americans probably have either met, got an autograph and a picture or something, or possibly know somebody, depending on what your list as a celebrity is. Now you could look at like a Jake Paul or a Mr. Beast as a celebrity, but 10 years ago that wouldn't exist. Or you could look at country music. I know a lot of country music singers through my mom because she's friends with her best friend, basically family. God rest her soul, I guess. Her daughter or her son was is a very famous country singer, and through them we met a lot of people. It's always about who you really know and how you can get connected. Shoot, I got a friend. I don't know if you know who Patrick Mahomes is. He's one of the highest paid football players. He's young and he's got like this huge thing. He's from, I'd say about an hour and a half away from here. But I looked on Facebook randomly, and a girl that, in fact, at the cell phone place, we sold Kias together, and then she went to the cell phone place and I joined her there. She's good friends with her mom. I had no idea. And literally the Kansas City Chiefs, she's at like almost every game. And it's the coolest thing. I was like, I'm super jealous because I'm not necessarily a Chiefs fan, but the point is I admire and look up to and respect a lot of their players because they're the kind that, they just play the game. They don't have a lot of stuff going on in the background, rape, allegations, all those kind of things. They don't deal with any of that. But you'll randomly see, and then you can be like, hey, if y'all ever want to hang out, let me, holla at your boy kind of thing. And we got that relationship. I could probably ask her to meet somebody, but I'm not that type of person. I would be starstruck for sure, but I would never ask to do that because that seems like a weird ask, to be honest with you. But what's funny? My mom's really big into the royal family, so she knows everything about it. To be fair, her family does come from, she's Scottish, from the 1600s because of religious persecution and all that kind of stuff. So
lie. Okay, and this might just be a me thing, but the next lie that I believed about America before I went to America, and I actually think you're going to probably slag me off for this in comments. I thought that you guys only had roll-on deodorant. I thought you didn't have spray-on deodorant. Because in movies, people always roll on their deodorant, in the changing rooms and stuff. I know you have Old Spice and stuff like that, but for some reason, I had it in my head that in America, spray-on deodorant didn't exist. And I'm so
I hate spray on deodorant though. Like it never lasts. The roll on is so much better like for lasting. I'm sure it's not. I know there's like metals or something in a lot of deodorants or something like that that's bad for your pores or whatever. But I use just roll on. I use Axe roll on, but they have the spray. They also have like powder deodorant. They have all different kinds of deodorants, but
it's like, wow, they should really get spray-on deodorant. I guess they don't use it in films because it goes and it would make a noise, whereas like it's easier to just do the roll-on if you're like shooting a TV scene. You don't have to have the.
could you imagine how many takes
if
you have like
Europe,
that much deodorant on?
That spray-on deodorant existed in America, because I didn't. The next misconception that Europeans have about America is that you're all really rich. And I get why this misconception exists. To be fair, your houses and the land that your houses are on are generally a lot bigger than what we have in Europe for middle class people. Additionally, many people in America live on credit. So a lot of people are living above their means to what they really should be living. And the thing about
And the banks are supposed to control that. Like whenever I like, let's say I sold a car, debt to income ratio, you need to have a good debt to income ratio, because if you have, let's say you have an RV, you've got a house mortgage, let's say you've got a lawnmower you finance a lawnmower. Lawnmowers can be like $6,000 to $10,000 depending on how big your yard is, or they can be $300 if you got a tiny little yard. You could be financed. I financed my furniture. All the furniture behind me is all financed. It's 0% interest. So to me, that's free money, and I don't have to fork out. I mean, this only cost me about like 5 pieces for like $1,500, and I get to pay it off in 24 months with 0% interest. So why not? I probably have quite a bit in credit, but it's all 0%. I do have some stuff on my credit cards, but I pay that off every month. But there's so many benefits to using credit that you do it. And when the interest rates were extremely low, it's better to let your money work for you and make money than to actually put it into buying something cash. So let's say hypothetically, up until recently, you could easily get 2%, 3% on a car, and I could make 5% of investing my money into either the stock market, into some type of CDs. So a lot of people are actually pretty intelligent when it comes to that, because there's a lot of information out there. So instead of paying $30,000, $40,000 for a car, I could put $10,000 down, get a decent enough payment, and let my money work for me with interest or with investments or whatever it may be, instead of just forking out. Or I could keep it in my bank account, because guess what? Life throws curveballs. There is a thing called COVID that screwed a lot of people over and were broke because they were paying cash for a lot of things, when if they could get that cheap free money, you take advantage of it. So that's the way I was taught. As long as you know you can make your payments and all that kind of stuff, which even being out of work for 6 months, I was able to make my payments because I save money, I invest it, and I don't pay cash for things. So take that how you want.
credit in America is you are encouraged to use credit. Like a lot of things you can't get until you build up credit, which exists in Europe, but it isn't so much focused on. Like there are other ways to build up your trust with banks. And as I've mentioned before, I've never seen poverty quite like I've seen in America. In Europe, of course, there are homeless people, but not in the same way that they are in America. It really shocked me. Because I went over expecting, as I said, pretty much everybody to be super rich. And then I saw people looking like Oliver Twist on the street, and that was a surprise to me. Additionally, some things in America are a lot cheaper than they are where I come from in Ireland. Ireland has just been named alongside Denmark as the most expensive country in Europe for the cost of living. The prices of goods and services in Ireland are on average 40% higher than they are anywhere else in the EU. And then when I went to America, it was like things were more expensive in some areas but cheaper in other areas. So I was surprised because I thought everything would be the same, if not more expensive when I went there. The next lie that we are told about America, and this should come as no surprise, and I don't want to get bogged down in the discussion too much, but it's that everybody there has pew-pews.
It's not true, but it also depends on where you live. I live in Texas. I would say probably 70 to 80% of people. Actually, you know what? Let's see. What percentage of people in Texas own a gun? You would think that would be like the first thing to pop up. What percentage of people in Texas own a gun? Or let's do this. What percentage of people in America own guns? 44% of report living in a gun home. And of course, certain states are much higher. The highest state, like percentage wise, is actually, I want to say it's Montana. They have like, it's insane. Like 90% of the people own like 10 guns or more. There are more guns in Montana than there are humans living there, which quite possibly the same thing happens in Texas. So.
And they don't. Not everybody does. In fact, it's a very divided country on people's opinions about that.
Facts.
People have very strong opinions about that, and I'm going to swiftly move on.
Yep.
I just thought
Good
that
idea.
every single person would have one when I went there, and that's not the case. The next lie that Europeans are told about America is that pretty much teenagers run America, if media was to be believed, and movies and TV shows. In actual fact, I have still not seen a cheerleader when I've gone to America. I have never been invited to a prom or homecoming, and that seems like an integral part of your society from film and TV. So, yeah, I know movies and TV shows aren't real, but I definitely thought that teenagers would have a more central role in America as a result of watching so many of them. The next lie that we...
To be fair, those movies are very spotlighting teens, but no, prom is huge. Homecoming is gigantic, especially in Texas. I mean, people spend money. I mean, you want to talk about $1 billion industry. So I don't get it. It's only in Texas thing that I'm aware of. I think it's during homecoming. I'm about to sneeze. Thank you. I assume somebody said bless you. I'm not going to skip that out on the edit. But they have these things called mums. Let me see if I can pull up. Where does this go? Okay. Mums. Homecoming mums for sale. Okay, so this is the dumbest thing. I hate it. I think it looks gaudy, but it's a Texas tradition. I don't get it. I've lived here almost my entire life, minus 10 years I lived in Tennessee. And you have, I mean, and they can vary. I mean, they can vary. I've heard of some that cost like upwards of $5,000, and you know, you go to those higher end schools and they'll wear them. I mean, look at this thing. Let's go to just images. So you've got things like this one. Like this one's selling for $427 for that. And they're going to wear it to homecoming. This one's $200. You know, it's got all the information. Usually it has some stuff like talking about like what you do for extracurricular, maybe where you plan on going to college, you know, those kind of things. And they can vary vastly. And I think it's they are, look at this stuff. This is I bet you $500. This is Allen Eagles. It's one of the biggest schools in the country, the best football schools in the country. Oh no, this is Geneva Eagles. But yeah, no, that's definitely for college right there. But it's not during college. They're wearing it because they're probably going to Alabama or they live in Alabama. So anyways, moving on from that, it's a real thing. It's just the country isn't focused on it, but college life or high school life, teenage life is a very, very real thing in America. And there's cliques and all that kind of stuff.
We are told about America is that you guys eat fast food constantly.
We do.
And that actually could not be further from the truth.
We do.
Americans, more so than anywhere else in the world, love to cook.
We do too.
Americans
That's true. I am cooking right now.
It's like your thing. You're like, my grill, my barbecue, you're mad for cooking.
Yeah.
There is fast food on every corner in America. So that's where the perception comes from. It's a lot easier to get your hands on. But most Americans don't eat fast food every single day. You cook for the most part. I definitely thought Americans just ate TV dinners and fast food constantly, and cooking was like something you did at family events. The next lie that we are told about America is that your breakfasts are crazy. Like, you eat waffles and pancakes and cereal every single morning. You have a full feast for breakfast every day.
So yay! Enjoy smelling breakfast.
In fact, I think most Americans probably live on just the same kinds of breakfast as most of us Europeans do. Of course, we have Irish breakfast, you have American breakfast, which consists of waffles and pancakes. They do exist. But mostly, I think our general day breakfasts cross over. You might have a bowl of porridge, a bowl of cereal, a slice of toast, a bit of coffee. I definitely thought it was like America-themed breakfast every single day, whereas that's not really sustainable, and you would be carrying a lot of extra weight if you ate that every single day. I would love to have American breakfast.
I would say actually the vast majority, I would say somewhere around probably 30 to 40% of Americans don't even eat breakfast. They just skip breakfast. They might grab an energy drink, drink some coffee, something like that to wake them up. Or they might stop by and grab like a scone or a muffin somewhere. We have both, by the way. We call muffins and cookies, and we have scones, and we have different stuff. We just call them all different things. The other thing that I find interesting is gherkins. We have gherkins, but they're different than pickles. They're like little tiny pickles. But anyways, no. The most I eat for breakfast is probably like 3 eggs, a couple pieces of bacon, and some water to wash it down. It's usually like, with a squeeze of lime or lemon, depending on what my flavor of the day is. Especially when I'm trying to diet, I keep it very slim, and then I'll eat within like 1 to 2 hours. So it really just depends on who you are, what you do, if you're healthy, if you're a fatty. Because and I'll be honest, the last probably 2 years, 3 years, I've been gaining weight like crazy. You can even see it in my belly. You can see it in my face, which I'm dieting right now, and I'm doing what's called carb night, where I get to carb out 1 night a week. But for the last 3 years, I probably ate fast food between 5 and 10 times a week, maybe even more than that sometimes. And I gained a ton of weight. To be fair, I only weigh 240 pounds, and I need to lose like 60 pounds. So yeah, it sucks, but I did it to myself. It's just so easy, and it's so good. It tastes so good. But now that I can do carb night, I can go and eat a whole bunch of fast food that one night and then go back to normal the next day. So
every single day, but it's not a good idea.
No.
Although the same could be said for Irish breakfast. You should not eat Irish breakfast every single day, because to be honest, after I have an Irish breakfast, it's delicious, but it slows me down. I'm like,
oh, you're ready to go to sleep.
I like to have a little nap after an Irish breakfast.
And I would literally stop on the way to work and grab biscuits and gravy, which is literally cement going into your stomach, and it will literally, you'll be like this, and then the second you start digesting that, you're like this. I mean, it's the most delicious thing ever, and if you go to Whataburger, they have the best. I'll stop and get like McGriddles and different types of breakfast sandwiches. I mean, I'd spend $10 a day on breakfast and start my day out eating cement, basically, just slowing me down.
That's all we're told about America, and there's truth in this one, but not as much as I had thought. It's that you will go around suing each other constantly. America is an extremely litigious country, but I think that's also due to the proportion of people compared to everywhere else in the world. Like, if there's more people somewhere, there's going to be more people suing people, right? But the impression that we are given of Americans is that if you bang your head on something, you're going to sue the company that built that something. Whereas the truth is, most times when something happens, people just let it go unless there's like serious ramifications. I definitely did think people just went around suing each other. I don't think that this is not fueled by the urban myths that are created on the internet. For example, there's that urban myth about the woman in America who sued McDonald's because her coffee was too hot, whereas if you actually go and look that up, the truth is that woman was actually really badly injured.
She was third-degree burns.
The coffee.
Now, that's what I was going to talk about. She got third-degree burns from spilling that coffee. However, somebody else did another lawsuit, kind of the same, but they passed like a federal law that you cannot sue over kind of you being stupid. Because what that lady actually sued for was it didn't tell her that she didn't know the coffee was hot. It didn't tell her that it was hot. So that no longer can be a lawsuit. because now everybody knows, because now they have to put the coffee's hot, basically, like, you know, just a little disclaimer on the coffee itself. So you can no longer, like, if I, whatever, another example of something like that, where it's my fault, where I did something in their vicinity using their stuff, it's my fault. And I can't sue for that because it was me being stupid with whatever, or because coffee was hot. It may have been too hot, but she spilled it on herself and burned herself. And she should, and her claim was, I didn't know the coffee was that hot. That's stupid.
He was way hotter than it should have been. But people like these extravagant headlines, and it makes Europeans think that Americans do just go around being like, you're sued, you're sued, you're sued. And also I thought that every American just had a lawyer on standby, because when you see things, again, people go, well, call my lawyer. Most people don't just have a lawyer.
Nobody can afford a lawyer.
Have to research that. Let me know below in comments if you want to see the other way round version of this. Lies Americans are told about Europe, because it's a long list. I gotta cut that one down, to be honest. Remember to give Hero Wars a download and give it a try. I always appreciate you guys.
But yeah, so the majority of people ever doing anything with a lawyer is if they did something stupid and they're going to jail and they have to, have somebody defend them. Or if you're going through a divorce, you want somebody to protect you and make sure you're taken care of. But the cost of having a lawyer on retainer is insane. We're talking hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, depending on the quality and the location of your lawyer and the type of lawyer you have. Like, when I got my concealed handgun license, they gave us an opportunity to sign up to have a monthly payment for a lawyer to literally cover you, which was actually a cool idea because the lawyer would represent you for a number of things, not just for like an incident with a weapon. And I like the idea. You could literally call them up if you got a speeding ticket or something like that, but you had to spend like $120 a month every single month to have this lawyer on retainer, but you could use them whenever you want. And then, of course, if it becomes a much larger thing, then I think they had like deductibles that you had to pay for, like if you actually shot somebody or something like that. But a lot of this stuff is true. Some of it isn't. But you visit America, you're visiting one spot or maybe a couple spots, but Middle America is way different than Southern America versus Western America versus Eastern America versus a Republican or versus a Democrat. Everybody has different personalities, different traits, different ideologies, different, I think last time I checked up, we have over 10,000 different religions. So regionally speaking, I can only talk about what I've been around and versus what other people have been around. So I've visited places. I haven't even been to all 50 states. To be honest with you, my ex-wife and my kids are going to go visit Mount Rushmore next week, or later this week, rather. I have zero interest in going to the Dakotas. North Dakota, South Dakota, and there's nothing out there besides a statue of a bunch of white dudes that didn't care about Mexicans or black people for the longest time. So I could care less, honestly. So anyways, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. Again, much love, and I appreciate everything that y'all said about my son. But until next time, bye.